What is going on, y'all? HazyRome here, PAX East 2017, everybody. It's coming near the end. But I got one more special interview for you guys. And this interview is somewhat special to me because I love Supergiant Games. And Supergiant Games is here, and they're advertising Pyre. Now, I haven't had a chance to try it, but it don't matter because I'm here to talk to somebody about the game. They can talk to us about it, give us some love about Pyre. And I'm here talking to Darren Korb, the audio director on Supergiant Games. I love getting the titles right because you guys have so many different titles and I don't know any of them, but I know yours. Darren, welcome, man. Thank you for taking out the time to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I just wanted to thank you so much, first of all, for Bastion and Transistor. Those are fantastic sounding games, and I know you're the man responsible for that.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to hear.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about Pyre, man. First of all, Pyre is definitely different from Transistor and Bastion. So tell me about what makes it stand out versus those two games, and why fans of those two games might be interested in Pyre as well.
Yeah, so Pyre is a party-based RPG, and I'll just give you a little summary here. It's a party-based RPG where you lead a band of exiles through a mystical purgatory and compete in a series of ancient rituals and try to earn back your freedom. And one of the ways in which it's different from our other games, it has a big cast of characters. Our other games have been very small casts and pretty solitary experiences. This one, you're traveling with a band of other characters, and your connections to those characters are a big, important part of the game. And then also, the sort of combat system we've developed for this game is pretty different from anything we've done before. Instead of just sort of you versus a bunch of enemies, it's a 3-on-3 sort of pitched match for the rituals in the game. And that creates some really exciting gameplay stuff that we're thrilled to have people get their hands on here at PAX, and just in general to see people getting really into it and excited by it. And we also have a sort of one-on-one local head-to-head multiplayer that we're showing here as well, which has been really fun to watch people play and just see them shout and go crazy, and that's been really, really fun. You don't really see that for just a single-player game usually, so it's a change for us to be able to see people react that way.
Awesome. So why the change in the mechanics for the game or the combat system? I don't even know if we should call it combat. I guess it's combat, but why the change?
Well, just like what we do at the beginning of our process when we want to make a new game, we have no problem just sort of starting from scratch in a lot of ways. I mean, that's compelling to us, and when we do end up using components that we've used before, it's not for lack of trying other things first, usually, And so we were just compelled to do this. One thing that really fascinated us about the structure for this game, and something we wanted to try, was a game that dealt with loss differently. In a normal, most games, an action game, an RPG, you die, you start over and have to repeat some of it. And that's just not, we wanted to try something else. And a structure that was interesting to us was a sort of like tournament or sport-like structure where if you have a loss, you have to just kind of move on and deal with it somehow. And so that was kind of the grain of this idea, and what caused us to go in this direction, I think, was a game where you can lose and it's totally fine. There's not really a game over state in this game.
So what are the consequences if you lose?
Well, if you lose, that affects the experience that your characters gain, the relationships to your characters, things like that. I mean, the goal is to earn back the freedom of all your exile buddies who you're traveling with, and it may be harder to do that if you're not winning the rituals. Anyway, it absolutely has an effect on the game. It just isn't. It's not you don't get a game over screen.
So does losing affect your interactions with the party members, the people you're traveling with on this journey?
Yeah, it definitely can. Yeah.
How so? Is it something where you could have a different ending based on the amount of losses you've taken or something like that?
It's possible. We're not talking about that stuff at the moment, but one concrete example is players have different stats. It's an RPG, and so players have different stats and abilities. you know, if you lose a match, your hope stat might take a hit, you know, for the next one, and so you have to play the next match coming from a deficit or something, depending on, you know, the characters you used and everything like that.
That's a cool system. Can you tell me a little bit about the story, man, and what's the inspiration behind Pyre? Have you borrowed anything at all from Bastion and Transistor in coming up with the story behind this game? Is there anything that connects all three games that you've made together to culminate in Pyre?
I mean, I think the story is its own thing, and I think that we try to do that with each of our projects, is to make something that feels like its own thing.
Absolutely.
And the connections to the other games, I think, are probably more aesthetic and than anything else.
Yeah.
But we do want the game to feel like we made it, you know, and that's important to us to make it feel like something that we've, you know, put our stamp on in one way or another. But yeah, the story is its own thing, and Greg Kasavan is our creative director and writer, and he's the one who's generated that mostly on his own.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your role. It's the first time I spoke to someone who deals with the audio aspect of things. Now, I was talking to, you know, a voice actor, you know, for Mass Effect Andromeda, Tom Taylorson, who's voicing Scott Ryder, and, you know, he gave me a lot of insight into how important sound is to the overall production of a game. And often you don't think about the little noises your character makes when you know, they hit someone in the face or something, or they, you know, say ow, or, you know, express some type of sound. So your role with Supergiant Games, what is your approach to creating an overall sound and feel, especially since the games you guys make, the sound and feel is so crucial to the feeling and the atmosphere of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. You know, the thing that's interesting about games, and even it applies to animation to some degree too, is that, you know, nothing has a sound. You know, there are no sounds when you start, you know. So you have to think about what the expectations are going to be when you do certain actions, and what the world should feel like sonically and all that stuff. You have to sort of generate all that. And so you kind of start with, well, what obviously seems like it's missing sound, and you just do all that stuff. And then next is, well, now what else? What's going to add nuance? What's going to make this more interesting and feel more unique sonically? And so, I mean, you're trying to both provide valuable feedback for the player, and also sort of deepen the immersion, and just sort of maybe exceed player expectation for what they expect to hear, you know? Because if you do something, you swing a big hammer and hit something with it, you expect that to make a big old hammer hitting something sound.
Exactly,
you know?
And Bastion had great sound to that effect.
Yeah, so a lot of it is about just sort of making sure that the expectations of what you're seeing, that are created by what you're seeing visually and what you're doing, are met. And then another valuable thing is providing feedback, gameplay feedback for the player. You know, alerting the player sort of subconsciously when, you know, they're out of ammo or they're out of whatever. You need a sound for that to let the player know, in addition to the little bar that's empty on the screen or whatever. You need to let the player know. So there's sort of both the sort of tonal aspects of it, the expectation aspects, and then also just feedback, letting, you know, helping giving the player hints and letting the player know, things like that. And for me, a lot of what directs how I approach the music and the sound and everything is to just try to reinforce the tone that we're trying to achieve with the game, emotionally and otherwise, and artistically. And then also, you know, it's important to me to try and provide a unique palette that helps put the players in the world.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. You guys have done a great job with that. You've done a great job with that, and your team has done a great job with that.
Thank you.
So in terms of the collaborative effort with your part and all the other aspects of the Supergiant team, how does the order of operations go? Like, when do you see the game to add the sounds and everything to the game?
Yeah, so I'm on team. You know, I'm working on the game from day one. So I'm at the very same time as we're sort of mocking up our first sort of gray box gameplay stuff. I'm making sounds and I'm experimenting with music and I'm doing all that. So right at the beginning, basically. And we all play the game throughout the whole process.
How do you select what music goes with, with what scenes? And, because once again, I just, the atmosphere that is created by Supergiant Games, is so immersive, and the music and the sound is crucial to the environment and the atmosphere of your game. So how do you decide personally what goes through your mind to get yourself set up for these games?
Well, again, a lot of it starts with tone for me, and thinking about what tone we're trying to achieve and what I want to reinforce musically, and what I want to try to do to subvert some of that a little bit, maybe. So part of what I try and do is, well, at first, I guess, regarding the process, at first I'll sort of experiment for a long time with the music and try to just find a style of music that I want to make for the game that I think is going to help represent the tone and be something that I could make a lot of music sort of related to that could all kind of feel like it belongs together.
Yeah.
That all, also can have a range and have a sense of variety.
Are you composing any of the music for the game? You're composing?
Yeah, I compose all the music.
Wow. So, I mean, so you work with, what type of programs do you work with? Are you working with real life instruments? How does the soundtrack come together?
Sure, yeah. So I compose the music and I do it all by myself pretty much. I enlist the help of Ashley Barrett, a vocalist friend of mine.
Hi, Ashley.
To sing some of the stuff for me. But yeah, I pretty much do it all myself. Other than that, I use Logic as my software of choice, and I play just about all the sort of guitar-shaped instruments that are on the soundtracks, and just about everything else is either a sample or a loop or MIDI instruments or something like that.
So what games or artists or songs have influenced you throughout your career? And what are some of your favorite soundtracks for some games or some artists that you've encountered?
Yeah, as far as some of my favorite game soundtracks go, I really love Marble Madness for the NES. Fallout 1 and 2 had incredible soundtracks. Diablo 2, I really love the music for that. As far as kind of more old school games, slightly more recent, like Plants vs. Zombies, I think has a really, really fantastic score that's just very simple but really well executed and awesome. And games like Abzu, I recently played, had a beautiful soundtrack. Austin Wintory is great. Danny Bernaschi has some really cool stuff. Necrodancer and all that. As far as more recent stuff goes.
Awesome. So if there was one thing that you would tell me right now to sell people on Pyre and on buying this game, what is that thing that you want to tell us?
Yeah, I would hope that if people have played our other games, that they'll be interested in the sort of Supergiants take on a party-based RPG, a game with a lot of characters, which is something that we're really excited about. And if you haven't played our other games and are just want to hear a reason you should check it out, it's sort of the pitched competition aspect of the game, I think, is really unique. And the way that meets up with the RPG stuff is I think pretty unique and really a blast to play around with.
Awesome. So you mentioned something real quick about characters. How many characters are available to be part of your party in the game?
There are certainly more than we're showing here. We're showing 3 right now at PAX, but there are definitely more, and that's all I can say. But there's quite a few more.
Awesome. So this is coming out for the PS4. Is there any other plans for any platforms or anything like that?
Yeah, it's launching on PS4 and PC at the same time.
Awesome. And when's the release date for this?
Later this year.
Yeah. Any window that you can give me for 2017?
It's going to be one of the last 3 quarters of 2017.
Oh, we got a clever guy here. We got a clever guy on our hands. Darren, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been a genuine pleasure. Where can people stay in touch with Supergiant Games and learn more about Pyre? Is there any opportunities to play the game early?
We, at the moment, I don't think are planning on doing any sort of early access or beta or anything, but we don't know. They can follow Supergiant Games at Supergiant Games on Twitter. Go to supergiantgames.com. I'm at Darren Korb on Twitter, so pretty easy to find as well.
Awesome. One last thing. What's the price point for Pyre?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
It could be comparable to our last game, but we're not sure. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Darren, for your time. This is HazyRome signing out of PAX. 2017. This is the last interview that we're gonna squeeze in because PAX is over. It's been a wild ride. Thank you guys for listening. Thank Supergiant Games for giving me the time to do this interview. Much love to them. I'm gonna be checking out Pyre. I hope you do too. This is HazyRome. I'm getting on out of here, guys. I'm gonna go get myself some food because I'm hungry and some water because I'm thirsty. I'll see you guys later.